My plans to requalify for British Airways Gold status in 2024 went up in smoke when British Airways made a surprise announcement on the 5th of February. Their changes to the Executive Club membership year-end dates left my plans for a July tier point run in ruins, and it left me with a decision to make. Now, I am happy to tell you that I have made that decision. So I'm going to tell you when I'm running for Gold requalification. I'll show you all the flights that I'm going to take and all the options that I found, and then the Spreadsheet of Glory returns and I will reveal exactly where I'm going, and most importantly, I'll tell you how much it's going to cost. Hi, I'm Phil and I'm on a grey gap year. I usually do some kind of recap at the start of these videos, but today I'm only going to do a very quick recap on the changes that BA have made. If you need a bit more detail to understand those changes, then go to this video here. And if you've stumbled across this video without really knowing anything about the British Airways Executive Club, then you're going to be watching me picking flights based on cost versus tier points, and it's all going to start sounding a little bit silly. So if you want to know what tier points are and why you would want them, then I'll explain all of that in my Status with BA video, and why you should care about Status with BA is actually one of the first things I talk about. It should be here. But if you're familiar with the BA Executive Club and you'd actually like just a really short recap, just to remind you about tier point sectors, mileage brackets, how all of this works, then watch the recap from my first step-by-step video, which is going to be here, and then come back for some new flight ideas once you're happy with that recap. And of course, if you're an old hand, then just use the chapters below, find the bits that you're interested in. On the 5th of February, British Airways made a surprise announcement that they were going to make a change to the way membership years would be managed in their frequent flyer scheme called the Executive Club. Now, we're about to move into the transition period for those changes, but at the moment, right now, this is the way it works. Everyone gets assigned a membership month, and your tier point collection year will end on the 8th of that month, with a new tier point collection year beginning on the 9th of that month. So my month is July, and on the 8th of July, my tier points reset to 0. Any status that I've earned in that particular membership year carries on into the next year. The announced change is that everyone is going to be moved to the same date, which will be the 1st of April to the 31st of March, with the grace period being shortened to the 30 days of April. And this is going to commence on the 1st of April 2025. But BA also announced a transition period, which will commence on the 1st of April 2024 until the 31st of March 2025. So this transition period, I thought that the points you collected in this year would be assessed on the 1st of April 2025, so next year. So you'd earn a load of points and they wouldn't really mean anything until the 1st of April. But I misunderstood this. So this period that's starting next month on the 1st of April this year is actually a live collection year. Now, according to the customer service agent that I spoke to, if you have no status with BA Executive Club, so if you're blue, and then you earn enough tier points and have the required eligible flights, then you get them from the 1st of April this year to hit a specific status level, you will be awarded that status level as soon as you meet the requirements. Then you will retain those benefits until the 30th of April 2026. And that's because you'll have earned status for this membership transition year, which will also carry on into the next new starting next year membership year, as it always has. And then you're going to get this new grace period. So it's sort of a 2 bites of the cherry situation. You can carry on with your existing membership year and then you'll get that really odd short collection period after that, or you can just sort of lean in to the new system and just start planning around the new dates from the 1st of April this year. So I'm in a bit of an odd situation where if I collect no further tier points, I'll drop to silver on the 31st of August. But if I collect from the 1st of April, they'll stay in my account after my old year-end date. And this gives me some flexibility for collecting this year. So I've decided to look at this whole tier point running thing this year with a complete blank sheet of paper, starting with costs for status runs in April and May this year. I've got some ideas and I've grouped them into 4 simple areas. Number 1, BA holidays. Number 2, Go East. Number 3, Go Europe. And number 4, UK runs. In case you're not familiar with this, BA have a double tier points offer on their BA holidays. Now, as the name suggests, you'll earn double the usual tier points if you book 5 days of car hire, 5 days hotel, or some car hire and hotel with your flight as a holiday. It all has to be booked together. Adding things on later doesn't count. It must start and end in the UK. It must be booked by a UK resident. And there are a few other terms and conditions that need to be met too. So do check them before you book, but generally speaking, if you're booking a 5-day holiday with BA, you should be good. If you're trying to game the system, chances are BA have spotted your clever ploy by now and it just won't count. When I was looking at this earlier in the year to run for status in July and August, there were slim pickings on the holiday front. There was nothing really until September or October time that made sense. But there are some options for April and May. It's mainly to Sofia in Bulgaria, and there are a few dates and a few destinations that pop out. Let's do a super quick recap here. I'm looking for destinations that are classed as short haul plus by BA. They earn 80 tier points each way in business rather than the usual 40 tier points for regular European short haul. There is a list of destinations that count as short haul plus, and there's no point trying to work out why one short haul destination is short haul and the other one is short haul plus. There's a list and it just is what it is. So tier points is one part of the equation, the other part is cost and value. Now my self-imposed target for earning tier points is £2 per tier point, or £3,000 for the tier points I need to achieve BA Gold status. So if it's flight only to say Bucharest, I'm looking for flights that are under £320 return in business. If I can add in an inexpensive hotel or car hire to the holiday, then this is going to increase the tier points to 320, and if my budget's £2 per tier point, that increases the budget to £640. But this can be optimized further. If I can get a flight that starts in one of BA's regional airports, which is Manchester, Glasgow, Edinburgh, Inverness and Belfast, then because the flight in this case to Bucharest will go via London, you'll earn 40 tier points in business from the airport into London and then 80 tier points onwards to Bucharest. So 240 points for that round trip. And if you get a cheap hotel or car hire, then you get 480 tier points for the round trip. So 3 of those and you're almost at BA Gold status. So what did I find? Well, I had a few options and dates for Sofia, and if I'm flying in and out of London, then it's very simple, but if I'm flying in and out of Manchester, then I've got an overnighted stop in London on the way back. Now I could try to sleep in the airport, but I am a bit long in the tooth for that. I found Premier Inns around the airport for under £50, so that cost is going to be in my final costing. Now, because there are multiple dates, I could just stay in Sofia twice, but I could also mix it up and maybe book a car for one of the trips and then drive to Sunny Beach, which is a few hours away, but it's all part of the adventure. Now, I also found a workable trip to Agadir in Morocco, but this is from Gatwick, so there's no option to fly into London from a provincial airport for the extra points. I think it's only Glasgow that has flights into Gatwick. I also found a date in May to Istanbul from Manchester, so you can conceivably, perhaps with a little bit more work on the dates, take 4 of these holidays and get the tier points and the eligible flights in April and May to go gold just for a little bit over £3,000. But you might still think that's well worth it because you're going to get 4 holidays and you'll get gold status thrown in. Now, there's nothing wrong with this approach, but I think I'm going to try and mix things up a bit and add some adventure into my trips. And one way you can add adventure is to go east. Going east generally revolves around the Abu Dhabi to Jakarta run with Sri Lankan Airways, which is particularly good for those of us who are chasing status, as it generates 560 tier points in a round trip. And this is because the flight goes via the Sri Lankan hub in Colombo, which breaks the flights up into 2 legs, and each leg is just over 2,000 miles long. So it hits that long haul mileage bracket. So Sri Lankan, with them being part of the One World Alliance, each leg earns 140 tier points. So 4 legs at 140 points each in business gives it a very nice 560 tier points round trip. Now, the downside to this run is the positioning cost, or the cost of getting yourself to Abu Dhabi. BA recommence flights to Abu Dhabi at the end of April, and a direct economy flight will cost £434, but you could use Avios. Now, I didn't find the Avios points option particularly cost effective, but that just depends on how you get your points and the value you assign to them. I don't want to get less than 1p value out of my Avios, so I'm adding the cash fare into my calculations. Okay, back to the flights, and if you took 3 Abu Dhabi to Jakarta round trips, you'd be gold. And at £836 per round trip in business, you'd have spent less than £3,000, including those positioning costs. You'd have to pay for some hotels, so you'd have to put that in your budget if that's how you choose to calculate your costs. So you'd go over your £3,000 budget, but more than that, I think you'd actually be bored to tears on that final return trip, and this is supposed to be fun. But you can spice this up a bit by adding on an additional flight from Jakarta with Cathay Pacific Airways. They're part of the One World Alliance as well. And I found Taipei via Hong Kong for £724, and that earned you 180 tier points each way. So we're £4 over the tier point target price of £720 for this flight, but it's an easy add-on to a destination I haven't visited before, so that sounds like fun, and it also adds to the adventure. There was an issue with Cathay Pacific P-class fares not earning tier points, but Head for Points have written that this has now been solved. Incidentally, if you are confronted with a chart like this and you're traveling, say, in economy, and you want to know how many tier points you'll receive, then you can look under the flight details on the booking form. This is where you'll find the fare class, and it'll help you know the number of tier points you're going to get, especially useful with economy flights. And to wrap this section, I've got a comment from a viewer, James, who made a great suggestion of flying internally with another One World Alliance member in Malaysia, Malaysian Airlines. They have internal business flights that earn 40 tier points each way for about £1.75 or less per tier point. Now, with my trip, I'd have to position myself into Kuala Lumpur, probably flying from Jakarta, and that just pushes up the cost a little bit. But if you want to be in Kuala Lumpur anyway, then taking some of these flights are going to help you get around the country, you're going to get to see some of the country, and you're going to get some cheap tier points. So thank you for that suggestion, James. There are very few long-haul flights earning 140 tier points within Europe, but 2 of them are Helsinki to Lisbon and Helsinki to Malaga with Finnair. Now, one issue with these Helsinki runs is the cost of positioning yourself into Helsinki. I can't find a cost-effective way to Helsinki unless you have Avios points and you count them as costing you nothing. So I can't get to Helsinki in a cost-effective way, but I can get to Malaga inexpensively. So, I mean, you could just even position yourself with a budget airline and then just not pay for any of their silly extras. But I found flights with Iberia to Malaga via Madrid in business. They're more than £2 per point, but it gets us some nice points and a nice business flight rather than 0 points flying with Ryanair. But you could go either way. Now, I had to set a few more filters than usual with Google Flights to sort of find them, to get them to really pop out. But on different dates, it's £334 return, and it earns you 120 tier points round trip. And that's because internal flights with Iberia only earn 20 points in business. But then you're in Malaga and you can start flying these Helsinki Finnair flights for 140 tier points each way, 280 points round trip, £534 overall, so it's less than that £2 per tier point cost, unless you're going to count in hotels, and then it's probably going to push it just a little bit over. Now, the North African part of this section is from another viewer, Russ, so thank you for this tip. And that's to travel with Air Morocco internally within Morocco, and their hub's in Casablanca. The initial spreadsheet I put together with runs came out a little high after I'd added in positioning costs into Casablanca from the UK. And I tried adding in that BA holiday in Agadir, and that made it work, but I didn't like the idea of leaving my hotel in Agadir empty. So I then looked at reducing the positioning cost by positioning from Malaga, which is why I've wrapped this all in a single thing. Now, although this still didn't put me under the £2 per tier point target, and that is obviously without hotel costs, it does appeal to my sense of adventure. So this run is still kind of in the mix somewhere. And then finally, for quick and simple top-up runs, it's always good to have a few UK internal flights on your planning spreadsheet so that you can slip those in if you just find that your plan is going to leave you 40 points or so short. Now, on my spreadsheet, I've got Manchester to Glasgow via Heathrow, and that brings in 160 tier points round trip, and that's for under £2 per tier point. I did find some other flights that were close to the target budget but were over, and I also found this cheeky back-to-back from Manchester to London. Now, the flights are tight, probably too tight for me, but you might be a high-risk individual, you know, where the risk is the reason it makes it fun. And before my final reveal, here are the screenshots from the Spreadsheet of Glory. If you need a bit more time looking at them, please just pause the video on YouTube, and you can also use the chapters to skip ahead if this is just taking too long. And so with great fanfare, I will announce which runs I'm planning, but please forgive me if I don't put the dates of travel on here. I don't wish to announce to the criminals of Stafford the exact dates they should break into my house. Part of me really likes this run to the east that actually earns exactly 1,500 tier points, although it doesn't have the 4 eligible flights that I would need, so I would have to make 2 additional BA flights to get gold status, but they could be in any class. So my plan is Sofia with car hire, driving over to Sunny Beach and having a few days on a lounger there. Then I'm going to go to Agadir in Morocco. Now I might change my mind and I might fly up to Casablanca, but I'm almost certainly going to just enjoy the town and have myself another little holiday. And then a European and North African adventure. I am just going to have to double check on the visa requirements for Morocco if I'm going twice. I'm coming and going, but I think I'm going to be okay. So that's my plan. If this video has been helpful, please do give me a like and please ask any questions you might have in the comments. I'm happy to answer them, and they may also feature in a future video like this one. Just me answering your questions. And do let me know if you spot a mistake. I'm not an expert, I am just sharing what I've learned along the way. And finally, please do share your tips, tricks and hacks in the comments. It helps everybody in the community and I really appreciate it. So thank you for watching and joining me on my Grey Gap Year.